Huh. That's interesting. So, Fast Company exposed a significant privacy issue on Wednesday, reporting that thousands of ChatGPT conversations were found in Google search results and likely only represented a small sample of the chats that are visible to millions upon millions of Google users. While the indexing doesn't include any identifying information about the chat GPT user themselves, the chats themselves do share personal details, like highly specific descriptions of interpersonal relationships with friends, family members, colleagues, bosses, subordinates, and making it very easy to identify them, Fast Company reports. Now, in OpenAI's defense, their information security officer, Dane Stuckey, I wonder if he's related to the Stuckies. I used to love going to those. It's like how Buc-ee's is now. Buc-ee's, Stuckies. I always thought that was funny. Rhyming. Anyway, he explained that while all the chats that were exposed, the user opted in to indexing their chats by clicking a box when they went to share it, thus trying to defend the feature. However, ultimately, OpenAI did decide to disable that feature because it was introducing too many opportunities for a user to unknowingly share their search. Although, I looked at the dialog box and it does seem pretty clear, so it's really surprising that someone would click that and not realize what they were clicking. But that just goes to show you that read everything carefully. This whole privacy issue comes after OpenAI last month, or excuse me, actually it was in June, was court ordered to preserve all chats indefinitely, even if the user, you or I, requested it be deleted, or even did delete it from our account. They're under a court order that preserves them, unless you have a zero data retention agreement, which is really only for enterprise and education users. So it probably doesn't apply if you're watching this right now, but it might. You never know, which is great. That's why it's always a good thing. Again, have the right contracts in place to protect yourself on the front end and the back end. It's been so many tech years since ChatGPT was officially launched. And I remember shortly after it was officially launched, there was the news article about Samsung leaking. Literally shortly after Samsung allowed their employees to use ChatGPT. ChatGPT, as you remember, was announced in November of 2022. Samsung authorized their users to use it in March, April of 2023. So it was still a novelty at that point. We really didn't understand what it was going to do. And within under a month of authorizing their users to use it, Samsung had leaked meeting notes, source code, trade secrets that allowed their competitors to kind of just, go behind the curtain, so to speak. And I always think of that case when I think about a company that indirectly, unknowingly leaks confidential private information. This is both this new example and that old original example is highlighting an instance that it doesn't matter if you're just an individual or if you're a business, that we have to be responsible for our data, our privacy. We have to be our advocates for ourselves, our employees, and even our clients. And given the growing use of generative AI, which is not just OpenAI. I'm not trying to pick on OpenAI. I mean, it's Claude, it's Gemini, it's Bard. Well, it's not Bard anymore, right? It's now just Gemini. Bard's gone. It's, what is Meta? It's Llama, Meta AI, Grok, Twitter, X, that are being, all these services, and then it's all the little other tools that are using the APIs of these big LLMs that employees are using them in the workplace, and businesses should evaluate the issues and risks associated with the use of the AI and consider implementing and teaching and enforcing and auditing a very strong AI use policy. There's so many considerations to think about with it.
And it's not to say that AI doesn't have its place. I love AI. I have it tied to the action button on my iPhone and use it to ask it a bunch of questions all the time, like, do you think hoisin beef jerky would be good?
I think that sounds delicious. Hoisin sauce has that nice sweet and savory flavor, so pairing it with beef jerky could be a really tasty combination. Have you tried making it, or are you thinking about trying it out?
I'm going to go into Publix right now.
And just for the record, the hoisin beef jerky was delicious.
See, that is a good example. I'm not asking it client information. I'm keeping it personal or general. Businesses do need to take their AI use policy seriously. There's many considerations in place, but ultimately it's all about protecting the privacy of themselves, their business, and others. A good comparison to give some context is your social media use policy, generally restricting and explaining what your employees can and cannot do as it relates to social media posts about the business or clients. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, I don't even have a social media use policy, definitely talk to me. But it's similar, honestly, for AI. The difference being in that AI is actually going to grow more and more to where employees outside of a marketing or even a direct client communication role might be using it in the course of their business. So you could argue that AI is going to be more important and more useful than social media was, and is. But the main considerations to think about, the risks, are confidentiality. You are exposing your information. Anytime you input anything, anytime you send it to that LLM, you're putting it out there, and you have to think of it the same as if you're posting it on social media or screaming it from the rooftops. It could potentially be seen, used by a third party, which means you have to think about not just the privacy and confidentiality of yourself and your clients, but also the IP risks of, say, with Samsung, how they leaked their source code and their trade secrets. That put their business on a weak footing with their IP. Same is true for you. And then just the privacy violations. I'm an attorney. I'm bound by the rules of professional conduct. Ethically, I can't talk about my client's information. It's attorney-client privilege. There's been countless attorneys who have leaked ethical, confidential information from their clients because they were asking ChatGPT about it. There's honestly an argument that merely using any LLM is actually an ethics violation. So it's always a good thing, especially if you're in an industry that's heavily regulated with privacy. So think attorneys, think doctors, healthcare. It's probably a good idea to make sure you have a solid AI use policy. And I think another big one is just the mere fact that the AI hallucinates, meaning it lies, it fabricates, it makes up. The best example that I can give you is the other day, I have a 3-year-old who you saw, well, not here, but earlier. And she loves Bluey. And she was asking for the Bluey Fire episode. So I thought, okay, I will ask ChatGPT what episode is the Bluey Fire episode. And she fabricated up a season 3, episode 11 episode called Bluey Fire Truck, where they pretend to be firefighters. As far as I can tell, that episode does not exist. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I couldn't find any information on it. Couldn't find it on Disney Plus or anywhere else, YouTube, whatever. But it was very confident about it. You have to be careful. There are serious risks. AI is a useful tool, but you have to be smart and responsible, and that starts by having an established policy and procedure in place for you and your employees. Okay, so what is in an AI use policy? Well, it starts with the purpose and scope of what employees does this apply to, what client information or company information does it apply to, what services are permitted to be used, what services are prohibited to be used, what data should not be used and put it into an LLM, what are the data privacy and security concerns that are taken into account. Are we scrubbing any input data from any identifying information? What are we doing then with the output data? Are we verifying if there are hallucinations or not? Are we being transparent with our clients if AI has been used for any part of this work product? You know, for example, AI created art cannot be copyrighted. That's something that needs to be disclosed to make it clear that art has a limitation, has a restriction, because it's AI. I love AI art, but you have to be clear and transparent about that. And then there's also the biasness that all AI have based on who programmed them, based on what data was inputted, based on the responses and the training data of the users. I mean, there's countless examples of where their AI have been influenced, either in the right way or the wrong way. And what is the right way? What is the wrong way? You know, you have to think about that. And so then it brings it back to accountability and oversight. Are you constantly reviewing the use, your AI policy, the uses, the services? Are we making sure that this is still the best service for you? Are you being compliant with any new privacy laws or regulations in place? Are you training and educating your employees constantly about what your policy is? Are you then having a compliance audit to make sure your employees are actually following your rules and procedures in place? Do you have an incident report ready? Same as if there was someone got hurt or there was a harassment. Do you not have an incident report? If you not, please talk to me. Like the social media policy, yeah, that's important, and especially in regards to handling confidential client information. But if you don't have an incident report form and there's some level of employees in place, please talk to me. But same is true for an AI policy. In the event of a violation, you want to make sure that you take it seriously. And then just realizing that this is just a tool, same as everything else. You know, people were stressed about the internet, stressed about computers. There's always this philosophy of, I think the default of human nature is almost to be a Luddite a little bit, to not embrace change, even when it benefits us. You know, AI is a very beneficial tool, and as long as you understand what it does, what are the limitations, what you should restrict to it, it'll be an amazing tool in your Rolodex of tools for your business. So what should be the key takeaway from this is that you shouldn't be fearful of technology. It's okay to embrace and use something that's going to better your life, professional, business, or otherwise. But it's just to make sure that you understand what it can do, what you should use it for and shouldn't use it for, and just have the proper procedures in place and follow through. And you know, if you need help with figuring that out, please reach out to me. I can be your guy. Thanks. I appreciate you watching.